Angry guy here, and men are running away from sex, dating, and marriage. Men are running away from sex, dating, and marriage. Let's just go ahead and jump right into the top. Men are actively running away from sex, dating, and marriage. You look at what's happening around the world right now, specifically in Western society. I've talked about the M2 movement, and I've made it very clear that it's not over. Women are falling into extraordinary states of desperation and destitution. They can't pay their bills. They can no longer survive. They don't know how they're going to make it in the future. They've basically squandered their privilege, running around with Chad and Tyrone, being out in the streets, living these lives of just excessive greed with no virtue. And now the roosters are coming home to crow, and they don't know what to do. And they're looking for everyone and everything to solve that problem for them. And it's not an easy solve, it's not an easy fix. They're going to have to go through a period of struggling and suffering. And if there's one thing that you understand about modern day women, and this is how women have always been, but it is more pronounced with modern day women, that they cannot suffer. They cannot handle suffering. I have a friend, and he said to me many years ago at this point, it's unbelievable. It's about 10 years ago or more at this point. He said to me, he said, men were born to suffer, while women can handle pain. And he's not wrong about that. He said that if you look at women, biologically, they are designed to handle pain, physical pain. How do we know this? Look at childbirth. Women can handle childbirth in a way that men never could. And of course, we're not designed for that, but they can handle childbirth while men would struggle through these things. What women cannot handle is suffering. Women cannot handle a prolonged period of suffering. They cannot handle a prolonged period of hardship. We can see it with homeless people. We can see this where you'll have a homeless man. We've all seen the homeless guys. They're homeless. Maybe the guy could use a shave. But at the end of the day, his clothes may be old, but he doesn't smell. They're not dirty, which means that he's been having his laundry done. He takes a shower when he's able to. He stays clean. He stays presentable. For many of these guys, homelessness is a lifestyle. This is why I've said that you should not feed the homeless, because if you've been homeless for 20 years, that's a choice. But that's a whole other subject. When it comes to homeless women, though, they often fall into extraordinary states of destitution. They are dirty, they are hungry, they are tormented, they are demoralized, and they struggle with mental health issues. Why does this happen? Why do they fall into deeper states of destitution than homeless men? It's because women cannot handle suffering. Men were built to be survivors. This is why we can handle suffering, because we have to survive. From the moment we are born, we are fighting for our very own survival. If you look at the mortality rates for baby boys versus baby girls, let's say in the UK, more baby boys are born in the UK than baby girls every year. But so many baby boys do not make it to adulthood that by the time we reach adulthood, there's a surplus of baby girls versus baby boys. The truth is that this is a result of the way that parents care for children. The fact that if a baby boy is crying, parents are more likely to ignore that child versus a baby girl, who they are more likely to be attentive to their needs. They're more likely to take them to a doctor's visits. They're more likely to see if they have an infection. If boy has a cut, they are less likely to address that. But it's deeper than that. Many children, baby boys, don't even make it past infanthood. And it's a result of the care or the neglect from their parents. And it's a very sad thing. And of course, you'll have women automatically saying, oh, it's because girls are stronger than boys. No, it's because boys have to fight harder to live than girls. We know that the world isn't going to hand us anything. By the time we hit 10, 12 years old, many times before that, we see that we're not treated fairly versus the girls. Girls are praised for their behavior, we're shamed for ours. We're shamed for simply existing. And by the time a man turns 18, he realizes just how harsh the world is, where girls become millionaires and boys become bums. And they have to now fight for the next 20, 30, or even 40 years of their lives to create value, as women often squander away the value that they are given. It's quite unfortunate. It's quite sad, but that's the absolute reality of things. However, I would have it no other way. You see, because we have to create our own value, that's why we end up rich at the end of our lives. But because women are born with their value, that's why they end up poor at the end of their lives. Now, keep in mind, it always hasn't been entirely like this. You see, women always rushed to find a man because if they did not find a man, they could not survive. A man was a means of survival for a woman. She could not survive without men. And even in the modern day society, even with all of our technology, women cannot survive without men, even though they hate to admit it. And they will, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. When it comes to modern day women, they will stay on that horse. They will stay on their hill. They will stay on their hill and they will expire on that hill before they ever admit that they screwed up. They will blame feminism. They will blame God. They will blame Jesus Christ. They'll blame the world. They'll blame the universe. They'll blame other women before they ever take any accountability for the choices and decisions that they made to embrace feminism and live the lives that they've lived. They are they are right now trying to pull young women down with them, telling them that they can have it all, even as they are sitting there at 40 years old now, 50 years old now, pushing 60 years old, childless, single, and massive amounts of debt, demoralized, struggling for survival. And this is the absolute reality of things. Guys, you have to wake up and realize that life is always going to be hard for men. It always is, but it's a part of the joy that we get to build and could create our own destinies. Women, on the other hand, what they really do is they mimic. They want an adventure, but they don't realize that it's a marathon. It's not a it's not a skip, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So they go out, they try to prioritize a career, and then they realize that 10 years later, 20 years later, they can't do this anymore. And now they want a man to step in, provide them lives of luxury, as they also call themselves equals. Oh, I have my medical degree, so I don't need you. I could do it for myself. Bro, you also have $700,000 in student loan debt, and you don't want to work 16 hours a day. I mean, what's up with that? What's up with that, bro? You don't want to work 16 hours a day. You have almost $1 million in student loan debt. You're 40 years old now, and you think that me and you are equal. As I get older, I look better. As you get older, your looks and your fertility decline. So I'm more attractive at 40 years old to an 18-year-old, while you're less attractive at 40 years old to a 60-year-old. I mean, come on. But you don't want to accept reality. This is how it is with modern day women. And it's no wonder that men are running away from intimacy, running away from dating, running away from marriage, and instead focusing on themselves, playing video games, working on their hobbies, focusing on their spirituality. I've said it before, guys. Stay out of the church. I made a post recently, and there's so many guys that are fear based. They live it. It reflects the church very clearly. It wants to control your mind. It wants to control you with fear. You must not fear the Lord. I'll tell you the reason why. You should revere the Lord. When you revere him, you see his glory, you see his greatness. But we live in a fear-based society that wishes to control you. Okay? It wishes to control you and to keep you locked into a cycle of fear so that others can take advantage of you and use you. Guys, you have to wake up and realize that Western society is a failed society. Western society is a society in which we are basically born to serve it for all the days of our lives and then have nothing at all for ourselves. Our lives are passing us by for what? For literally absolutely nothing. I want to know what you guys think regarding this. Men are running away from intimacy, dating, and marriage. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.